Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation with ASI. Today's episode, I'm joined by Michelle Beltrame. Michelle, welcome to the series. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me.
Thank you so much for having me, Claire.
It's my pleasure. We should have consulted each other on wardrobe today because we're a little bit matchy, but I love it.
Statement sleeves. Yeah.
Right. It's all about that, what do they call it? Above keyboard dressing, where all the interest is on the top. So
yes, and blue is the color at the moment, I think, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm seeing that a lot, which is really cool. So
yeah,
it's nice to see color coming back into the shops. I feel like winter was so camel and neutral. It's good to get color back.
Yeah.
So Michelle, part of this series is about, I guess, not exposing, but introducing our stylists to other people in the community who may not have had a chance to either hear your story or know about you. But you've done a lot since your training in October 2019, I believe.
Yes, so not even 2 years ago. Yes.
Crazy. Yeah. And I remember last year when Lauren and I rang you to let you know that you were the recipient of our 2021 to Watch Award. I remember you sitting there actually and going is this for real? Did I actually win this? And I remember that moment so clearly because I remember in the beginning of your journey, there was a lot of conversations you and I had where, it was about, can I actually do this? How am I actually going to achieve everything that I want to set out to achieve? And part of the reason that we actually, gave you that award was because you absolutely nailed it, and you've done some incredible things in such a short amount of time. And I really want to highlight that achievement today for you because, even before I hit record, you were mentioning some things that are under embargo, but exciting projects that you're working on and that'll be released in time to come. But how have you sort of ended up where you are? What's sort of, I guess, the elevator pitch of Michelle to give people some insight into you?
Well, I think I stepped into the ASI 5-day face-to-face training really with an open mind. I think I even said to my husband, if I don't end up making a career out of this, at least I've got some takeaways that I can help myself and maybe my friends and family around me. And then as I was in the room, pennies started dropping, and I was really a sponge and taking in all of Lauren's tips. Goal setting is something that really, really stuck with me. And I think it was the final night, the Friday night, I went back to my hotel room and I jotted down some goals. Straight off the bat, my brain was buzzing. I was just so excited on adrenaline, and I just really wanted to nut down my thoughts. And then I went back and revisited them about, I think, 2 weeks later. So having that kind of, I guess, hunger from the get-go, literally walking out of the last day of the 5-day training and setting some goals. Bit of a brain dump. Some of them were really lofty goals. Some of them were really, I don't even think you classify them goals. They might have been like a to-do list, almost, not so much of a goal. I think we clarify that when we start doing the modules, what a goal is and what a task is. Yeah. But just being laser focused and really hitting the ground running. And that's something I really was keen to do. And it's not that easy, I guess, to hit the ground running. I know that, for example, I think it was maybe in 1 or 2 weeks after the face-to-face 5-day training, I went down a bit of an Instagram rabbit warren, and I started looking at other stylists in South Australia, and the comparison just hit me really, really hard. Looking at their end game or where they were starting, and then me at the very, very brink of my career. I didn't work in retail. The closest I got to working retail was handing out little discs at the Target fitting room. I didn't really get to do any of that fashion that I so much hungered for when I was at uni studying my marketing degree. So I went down that big comparison game, comparing myself with other stylists that had the designer handbags or just umpteen years of experience, and looking at their portfolios and the amazing clients that they'd worked with and celebrities. And it's a slippery slope. And I managed to be able to stop myself and really press pause on that, and acknowledge the uncomfortable feeling, or acknowledge the feeling that was making me question myself. And I think sometimes when you come across a challenge or something that's making you feel a little bit unsettled, it's naming that feeling so that then you can tackle it. So was it jealousy? Was it fear? Just coming up with the strategies and the mindset to really overcome those barriers. And I think by very nature, we put up barriers because we want to be, as humans, in a safe place. Yeah. Going outside of our comfort zone ignites fear, and we don't like that as humans. We are risk averse, and we don't want to be put in the path of fear. Mm. So really acknowledging that from the get-go, I think helped me swim in my own lane, stay in my own lane, forge my own path, which then, I guess, attracted people that wanted to work with me who were a good fit. Yeah. Acknowledging my strong points, yeah. And being authentically me. So, yeah. Bit of a long-winded answer to your question, yeah. But no. It was sort of goal setting, and then had the mindset to overcome obstacles or challenges, and motivation as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you did your degree in marketing. Yes. What were you doing before styling, for those who don't know?
I was working in digital marketing. It ended up actually being a bit of a jack of all trades role, just given my nature, well, my background in working in everything from events, comms, PR, marketing, social media. It was a small business, a small family business in professional services. And I've worked almost 20 years in the marketing field, various roles, a lot of them in corporate, education, government. I was doing that. It didn't really lend itself to creativity. There were lots of barriers that were stopping me from being creative. A lot of ceilings being placed, and it was recognizing that the role I was in at the time wasn't 100% lighting me up and ticking all the boxes, and I had that real hunger for more. And styling had been something that I had thought about a few years earlier when I saw an ad for an information night, went along, and I guess I probably wasn't in the right place to take the plunge. And, coming up with those excuses about why. The money at the time wasn't, that was an issue a little bit at the time, and just various circumstances. And then I ended up getting a job that I really, really, really wanted. And then I kind of just parked styling, but it was always there. It was something, I was always on the ASI socials, and yeah.
What do you think the tipping point was to actually go, now's the time to enroll in the course and get this dream underway?
It was quite multifaceted. I actually saw a really good quote, not a quote, like a meme, I guess, that Brooke Falvey shared only a couple of days ago, that said, the universe sends me signs, but I'm always looking for a signier sign. And I think that was me along the whole way. Like, for years, there'd been little signs that I should have pursued something creative. And in the fashion, whenever there was a marketing manager job for a fashion brand, my friends would straight away say, you need to apply for this. So outwardly, it was something I was projecting. It wasn't just an internal desire. It was something that people associated me with style and fashion. But it was a number of things. So like all those signs over my life accumulating, but it was, I think it was another quote that I saw probably on Instagram that said, the quickest way to fail is to not even try in the first place. And then I think a couple of days later, I saw another quote that said, better a whoops. Oh, what's the quote? Better a whoops than a didn't try. I can't remember the quote. I've had not enough.
It's all good.
I know. Better a whoops than a what if.
Yeah, love that.
Those two things. So, there was a bit of risk changing direction, and, in my late 30s, and, it's a career that you're familiar with. And, my family all have stuck in the same lane their whole career progression. No one in my family is in a creative role, and it was that kind of taking that leap and going, well, why not me? Why can't I give it a go and make it work? And if it doesn't, I've got nothing to lose. I just know how to dress better then. So it was that kind of backing myself, and looking back as well. The other penny that dropped was when I was 17 and I was doing my university preferences. I had that pull to do something creative. And one of the courses was interior design. And the marks to get into that were nowhere near what the marks were to get into commerce or marketing. And I remember going, do I flip my preferences and put the one with the lower score on the top because that's going to light me up? Or do I do the one with the harder score because it's something that's attainable? It's that I guess, like not ticking a box, but there was that big thought process. And I'm 17, it's a lot of decision making to do at such a young age. And in the end, I decided that if I did commerce, marketing, management, and, the business degree skills that I would obtain, I could then use one day in a creative career.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's going to benefit me. So let's go work in like a business marketing industry, and then I'll get the skills. And if I ever go out on my own and do something freelancing or creative, I can use those business skills later on.
Yeah. And
it was around about my 20-year reunion.
Yeah, right.
That I kind of went, well, shortly after that I kind of went, well, I remember being 17 and saying one day, and I'd never stopped and paused to then think, well, when is one day? When's one day going to be? And it was that 40 being a motivator and knowing that, well, why not put 40 as the goal?
Yeah.
And I think I remember saying to you, my goal is to be a stylist when I'm 40.
Yeah.
by the time I'm 40, and I turned 40 in February. And this was way back last year. And you said, Michelle, you are already a stylist. And I went, oh, no, like I want to be, ticking all these goals off and earning the income. And I kind of set myself a bit of a goal about what that milestone of 40 was. And I reached that, and I was super pumped to do that. So yeah, multifaceted reasons of what took me on that journey. But I think being in that mindset where I was open to those signs and those quotes and really just going after my goals was a big point for me.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned earlier as well is that we often, we might see the signs, but it's like, is that the right sign? Should I take action now? Or is this just like coincidental and it doesn't mean anything? And, do you ever have those moments now where you're like, is this the sign? And is this the opportunity that I should take now? How do you sort of deal with those sorts of things as they come up?
I go a lot with my gut a little bit. Some of it's also me having a bit of a strategy of what my strengths are and what lane I want to be in, and being true to me and authentic to me in what opportunities I do pursue. And a lot of it was saying yes to pretty much all of them. Say yes, figure out how at the very start. And that's something that each time I got another experience under my belt, that just fueled me further. But yeah, I think another lovely sign was my grandma used to give me a certain Gelic hand cream, And when I went to my first fashion parade as a stylist, that Gelique Rose hand cream was in the goodie bag. And I kind of took that as a little sign that maybe she was looking down on me, or I don't know, it's a bit silly. Just out of all the goodie bag things I could have got, for it to be not just that brand, but the Rose one, which is something she always bought me. I think it was actually the last present she ever bought me before she passed away. So that was lovely. So I do believe in little signs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very cool. You mentioned the say yes and figure out how attitude, and I know throughout your journey we've had mentoring sessions where you're like, this has come up, what the fuck? Like, how do I go about doing this? And we've, you know, supported you in getting there, but you're the one who's done the hard work and the hours to actually get where you need to be. How do you stay focused and motivated? Is it that goals list that really connects you with the outcome, or are you a little bit more fluid in creativity? Is there somewhere you go for inspiration? What is it that keeps you so on track? Because I know even when we awarded you the one to watch, you were like, this was a goal of mine that I set. And it's like, well, Jesus, like we didn't know that, but you know, the world sort of delivered that to you. But I know that it hasn't been without the late nights, the, you know, working after kids go to bed, and the hustle, as some might call it. But how do you sort of keep yourself on task?
I have no real answer, because sometimes it is just all hands on deck from my point of view, you know, squeezing in things when I can. I've got a big shoot happening next Tuesday, and the client brief for it's a commercial styling job, is very specific because it can't include competitor colours. There's the whole backdrop and props that needs to meld well with the clothes. So knowing I've got that tight time frame, the talent involved aren't models, so it's taking in their personal branding as well as all the different criteria that comes into the brief, and making it look like they're in the right situation. I was talking to one of the creatives involved in the project, and for example, the female that I'm styling, she can't look like she's going to a wedding, and she can't look like she's going to a beach. She has to be elevated casual, but it can't be in a competitor color, and it needs to match their logo but not match too much. So knowing I've got a tight time frame to turn that around, trying to get a fitting in beforehand, I was up well after midnight last night, adding things to cart, hoping they're going to get here in time. They will, but it's knowing that I need to be prepared. Otherwise, you know, there's always curveballs on, you know, in the lead up to a shoot, but it's that slog, and also making sure that I'm on top of things and I want to be proud of my efforts, and I want to be proud of the end result and what I deliver. And I think that's what drives me. It's not so much going back to checklists and things like that, because actually when I'm in the zone, sometimes the checklist is just in my brain. I'm a bit of a in-between, analytical, creative, fluid person. I'm kind of, a lot of it's in my head when the chips are down, just getting it done.
Yeah, I love that. Where do you sort of seek inspiration when you're putting something creative together?
I guess going back to our training about mood boards and looking for references comes into it, but just general day-to-day inspiration, Instagram, Pinterest, and just overall my inspiration. I actually draw a lot from history, fashion throughout, you know, the decades. At the moment, I think we're in a really great melting pot of, you see lots of references to 70s fashion, which, you know, I just had to look back at old family photos and see what my uncles were wearing in the 70s, and my dad and my parent, my mum, you know, even the 80s, a lot of the 90s, and even the early 2000s. There's those bags, and I forget what the style is, but those bags I used to wear to the nightclubs in the early 2000s. It's just, I love how everything's cyclical, and there's references that you can draw upon and inspiration. Love history, and movies. I love Love movies. I find it really hard to watch movies and TV shows and even music videos without dissecting the fashion and just getting inspiration from it.
Yeah. Is there a movie that stands out to you as one that you'll always remember for the costuming and fashion?
Oh, I think just looking at, there's the classic Devil Wears Prada and, the Sex and the City wardrobe scene, but thinking back about what's been more influential, I grew up watching a lot of Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn movies. And then, as I was a bit older and I was buying my first DVDs, I would be watching the bonus section on the DVDs. And there's a great documentary that was, showing the journey of Edith Head. So just, I guess, being a sponge for everything. I even love watching the fashion in like Back to the Future. Like that's one of my favorite movies. So I'm just always, just taking it all in. And I've got a bit of a photographic memory for visuals. I'm not someone that can have a photographic memory of words or figures or anything like that, but I still remember looking at my mum's women's weeklies when I was a little kid, and I've got etched in my brain these woolen patterns of, woolen jumper patterns where there were sheep, a bit like what Princess Diana you can wear in the crown, and like koalas and wattle, like all these little fashion references. I feel like my brain has just soaked all those in, and I can kind of draw upon some of those just memories, fashion memories.
Yeah. I love that. And I think, even in our own lifetimes, there's things that will stand out to us that are those sort of iconic pieces or style icons. I grew up watching older movies as well. And I think that was a huge part in my development of fashion as a kid, because my mum would go to op shops and pull incredible like gowns and things like that for us to dress up in. And I remember that being the way that I would get creative with fashion. Looking back then at your own wardrobe, is there an outfit or a piece of clothing that sort of stands out in your mind as something that gives you complete confidence or just lights you up from inside?
In my current wardrobe, it would definitely be a certain black blazer. I've got a few. I think when I arrived on my day one of my certificate training, I was wearing, I'm pretty sure it was Target or Cotton On, black blazer. I still felt like $1 million in it. But since then, I've bought this blazer that I just absolutely love. It's Stephanie Shahadi, 100% wool. It's designed here in Adelaide, but also made here in Adelaide. That is the cost per wear. It's a lot more than my Target and Cotton On blazers were, but the cost per wear I've got out of that has made it so worthwhile. And there's also, well, obviously a blazer. I just love classic style, and I'm always cold, so a blazer is an absolute go-to. I would probably be wearing one today, but I just thought I'd put some puffs on, sleeve. But also it's got a real, I guess, not so much sentimental, but it's what it kind of represents to me in my styling journey. I was asked, I think it was about 9 months into my styling journey, to be part of a feature in the Sunday Mail where they picked 5 of SA's leading personal stylists. And I was asked to be in that shoot. And as part of that, I got to go and borrow my outfit. Went to a small boutique in Adelaide and selected that blazer. And I wore it and I felt amazing. But again, it was a lot pricier than most of the clothes I would normally go for. And I kind of took it as a bit of a reward to myself for how far I'd come in my styling journey, to go, okay, well, let's get that amazing blazer that I felt great in. Apply some of the principles that we learned about, confidence dressing, and got it. And I I love it. I wear it all the time.
Yeah, I love that. And I think what you said there is so true, in the sense that sometimes we don't reward ourselves for all our achievements. And what better thing when you love fashion to reward yourself when you hit a certain milestone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
what a great opportunity to sort of cement that for you, to be selected for that feature as well. And, you know, I look back on some of the things that you've done. I mean, even the Matilda Kimber for the red carpet. And I know that you've, you know, done a few influencers, celebrity kind of things. Julia Gillard, you assisted with on the cover of Stella. And then those other things in the works that we can't actually share right now, but I'm super excited when we can. And I look at those sorts of things and think, you know, someone like yourself, I remember in those early days, it took you a lot to actually recognize how far you'd come. And I'm really, really glad that you've come so far, even in your own personal growth, that you actually see that growth and success that you've had now. Looking forward, what does success look like to you in your styling business? And how do you actually measure success for yourself?
I think it's doing something that lights me up, something that just brings me joy, sparks joy. And something that I'm proud of. It's important to me that it's something that I'm proud of, the quality of work, something I'm proud to put my name to. So success, that those two components are huge for me. But then also going forward, balance. So I'm at the stage where, you know, I've had that growth phase in my business, the capability building, brand building, experience building, and then obviously I can't even say it, profitability.
Yeah.
Building. So all those, you know, saying yes to opportunities, working out how to do them. I think a lot of my initial journey was saying yes and figuring out how to free up the time to do those opportunities. For me, one of the biggest stresses wasn't, could I do this opportunity? It was like, what do I have to move so I can take on this opportunity? The Julia Gillard one was a classic one. I was meant to be working in my corporate job. And I had to just rejig a lot of things to get there. And then the second time, because I actually worked with her another time for her personal suite of images for her website and things like that. It was, you know, okay, I'm cancelling my hair appointment, and, you know, like where are my priorities lying? So foregoing some things to be able to say yes to opportunities. So, you know, going through that growth phase, and now it's that maturity stage in my business. So being selective in my work, carving out time for things that are important, and priority setting. I haven't got that balance 100% right. It's actually something I'm really working on. But yeah, it's that success to me I want my success to be the balance as well. Having the time to spend with my children, going to their sport. I did forego some of those opportunities early on just to get those runs on the board and to take advantage of opportunities. Yeah.
When you look at your transition from, you know, that corporate world into your own business, who has been your biggest supporter of that transition and growth for you?
My parents. My dad, he is a humble man. He cracks out the best dad jokes, but we don't often get a chance to talk. And I remember it was probably a few months ago or late last year, he just said, "I'm really proud of you." And that filled my heart so much.
I've got goosebumps when you say that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
My mum, she's always been really supportive of my career, even when I was, you know, in my marketing career, just, you know, making sure that I put myself first and didn't get lost and didn't lose what I'd worked so hard for. And that, you know, coming out of being a mum, that's something that she's always been really supportive of. When I said I wanted to do styling, she was a bit taken aback. Like, I think it did surprise her, the fashion style, but the fashion side of it, but she was very much what about your marketing career? What about the skills you've developed and the hex fees that you've paid, and all the sacrifices I made to get ahead in that industry? And I can't remember if it was something I just said on the fly or if I actually had thought about it. I think it's something I thought about. I just said, well, there's no reason why I can't fuse those two, and there's a real synergy, I think, in my marketing experience and my styling. And saying to her, that I have plans to work in the personal branding space, which is something I do a lot with headshot days, and working with people in the public realm, even if it's assisting Julia Gillard, making sure that it's in alignment with her personal brand. Yep. So respecting their personal image. So I've lost my track. No, so
all good.
Just explaining to her that it was something that I saw having real synergies, and I think it was just that initial hurdle that my mum had to get over, and then I was a little bit sneaky in that I said to her, well, you are going to be my first pro bono client. Yeah. So I wanted to show her that it wasn't just about pretty outfits, that it actually ran deeper than that. And she was my first wardrobe edit, I'm pretty sure. I teed that up before I even came back from my 5-day face-to-face. And in that, my mum saw the value that being a stylist can add to someone's life. And classic, she was the person that had like 12 white shirts. So, she's benefited from it, and she can see, and since then she's been a really, really strong supporter, and also helping facilitate like times where I can't get to school pickup, or, I can't get to OSH, 6 o'clock's approaching, and knowing that I can't get out of the shoot in time. My mum's been there for me. And my husband, he's also the other person that has been a big supporter. It's been a bit, I don't know the word, interesting, I guess. Yeah. We often, our schedules don't align that greatly. So, and he's not really an, open person. Like, he's not gushing in how proud he is. He actually sent me a message earlier this morning saying, good luck with your chat, which he isn't like he's supportive, but he's not like a gushy kind of supportive person. He's actually supportive in that he's like the bad cop almost. He runs a family construction business, often works 6 days, a week, 11 to 12-hour days, comes home completely exhausted because there's a lot of physical work in what he does. And he's been the type of person that's been like, contra, like free earrings aren't going to pay the bill, or just really, really pushing the quoting side of things with his business experience, because he's a contractor. He's always pitching work, always writing quotes, and making sure that there's enough margin in his projects that he doesn't bankrupt the business if the construction project goes over time. So he's been very much like thinking of my styling like that. But we don't always see eye to eye. I think my first time I had to do a shoot, he didn't understand borrowing clothes at all. He said, if I need to build a road, I pay for my gravel. I don't ask to borrow the gravel. And he's just, it's kind of been that educating him along the way. So he's supportive, but I kind of got to get him over the line sometimes to actually understand where I'm coming from. And it's like not everyone's going to understand their spouse's industry, and that's fine. And that's why I'm so grateful to have the ASI team, you mentors, and then also my peers, who we can talk to bounce ideas off and vent frustrations, because I think even my high school friends, they don't really understand styling. Yeah. So it's having your tribe that you can go to that can actually understand and workshop things with you, or just be an ear if you need to vent or something. It's really important.
Yeah, love that. If you could give one piece of advice to, I guess, your former self when you first started out, what would that be now, looking back?
don't know, I think I was always giving myself advice in my own head along the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find that I've worked, and maybe it's with maturity, it's all about mindset. And so I probably was giving myself advice along the way. I don't know. I'm trying to think what my advice would be to myself.
Is there something that you remind yourself of often then, that's that piece of advice that you always come back to, that sort of grounds you again if you get off track?
I think, like, remember your why as well.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Why is styling important? What's the end game? And just like things like be curious, like all those things.
Yeah.
I think I was always telling myself good advice along the way, but it was Lauren in my ear a lot, like, thinking what she said. I remember she said, I don't remember what day it was, but, if you know every show that's on Netflix and you can give your friends recommendations on the latest show to watch, you are not investing in your styling career. And that's something that I did. I had Netflix, but I was like, well, I can reward myself with Netflix when I've achieved that goal, when my website's up to date, when I've sourced that, look for that client, when I've reached out to X, Y, and Z person that I want to work with. And I think in a creative role, the list doesn't really end. Or when you're passionate about it.
Yeah.
When you're super passionate about something, there's always something else you could be doing.
Yeah.
And so for a while there, I didn't absorb myself in the Netflix.
Yeah.
But now I am. I'm trying to give myself a little reward.
Yeah. Love that. Awesome. This has been such an incredible chat, and I've really enjoyed connecting with you again, especially because, like, we haven't had the opportunity to probably catch up in a while, given, border closures and lockdowns, etc.
I know, it's really, I have no words to explain how I feel for you guys. It's just, I want it to be over for you guys so bad.
It's an interesting time, and I think, I don't think anyone can really foresee what the future looks like as a whole with this hanging over our heads. But something that I personally keep coming back to is just like, there's something every day that's worth getting up for. And whatever it is to me that day is what keeps me focused and grounded. And I mean, sometimes it gets a bit shit, to be perfectly honest. But I found real value in actually conducting this series and having, conversations with our stylists who are, really paving the way of the future of the industry in Australia. And that really excites me to know that there is so much opportunity out there. And I think for anyone who is, engaging in these episodes, it's like, come back to that, because there's people like yourself, who are doing it and making it happen. And I just love the fact that, I'm in this incredible position to be able to share these conversations with you, and then again with our community and the wider audience. So thank you so much for your time. You're amazing. And I'm really excited for what's next for your business and the projects that we'll hear more about hopefully in the future. But I think you're someone to definitely watch this space, and I can only see bigger and brighter things for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Been great chatting.
Hopefully we'll see you in December.
I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everything goes okay. I've got my vaccination, so maybe that lets me go over borders more than, I don't know.
Fingers crossed, because I would love to have you back in the space and mentoring our students in that editorial training. I think it'd be invaluable, especially with how much work you've done in that area of styling. And there's a lot that we can learn from you. So I'm excited to have you back with us.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be back at ASI when we can.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing place. I just have so many fond memories of being there. I just feel like you step through you've got the stairs and you step into that space, and it's just so energizing.
Even memories from masters, fond memories.
No, that was fine. It was good.
There was so much growth for you in that couple of days, and you know, even chatting with you today, I see how much that training has actually just changed the direction for you, and it's exciting.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Claire. See ya.